Welcome to the Trump Breaking News Network, your daily source for up-to-the-minute Trump news. Join us today and every day. Here's today's news.
This is TBNN.
The 43 People Who Might Run Against Trump in 2020. By Lisa Hagen. The 2020 presidential election could feature the most crowded Democratic primary in decades, with scores of Democrats rumored as potential contenders. The potential field could see some familiar faces as well as a mix of ambitious senators, governors and House members. But President Trump's success as an outsider could also embolden more non-traditional candidates from the business and entertainment industries. With no clear leader, the 2020 field should be a change from 2016, when Democrats had a small field of candidates, including front-runner Hillary Clinton. Here are 43 possible candidates who could take on Trump in 2020. Former Vice President Joe Biden, 74, said he regretted not running in 2016. He stoked major speculation about 2020 with a busy travel schedule but later said, "Guys, I'm not running." Senator Bernie Sanders, Vermont, Sanders, 75, emerged as a leader on the left after his 2016 presidential run, and he's working with the Democratic National Committee to help unite the party. He wouldn't rule out a 2020 run but said in January it's much too early to discuss another bid. Senator Elizabeth Warren, D-Mass, Warren, 67, has become one of the biggest thorns in Trump's side. In an April interview, Warren said she has no plans to run in 2020 and is focused on her 2018 re-election. Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat, California, Harris, 52, has been in the Senate for just 4 months, but the rising star is already floated as a potential contender. The former California Attorney General said she's not thinking about future campaigns. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut, the vocal gun control advocate, has been another strong Trump critic. The White House reportedly asked consultants to look into Murphy, 43, and 4 other possible Trump challengers. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, Minnesota, Klobuchar, 56, is running for re-election next year, but she stoked major speculation with her plans to travel to Iowa, a crucial state on the primary schedule, this weekend. Facebook CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg, 32, who also co-founded an immigration advocacy organization, created some buzz when he said he'll visit all 50 states this year. Senator Cory Booker, DNJ, Booker's meteoric rise from a mayor of Newark, New Jersey, to U.S. Senator has prompted speculation about a future run for president. While Booker, 48, won't discuss future plans, he didn't rule it out, either. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, DNY, Gillibrand, Clinton's Senate successor in 2009, earned Democratic cred by leading the Senate Democrats in votes against confirming Trump's cabinet nominees. But Gillibrand, 50, says she's focused on her 2018 re-election campaign and recently ruled out a 2020 run. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, 65, who was on Clinton's vice presidential shortlist, has been floated. He told the Denver Post that he's not running for president. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, 59, is running for re-election in 2018, but he hired 2 fundraisers from Florida, a sign that he could be considering a presidential run. Former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, 54, didn't gain much traction in his 2016 run, but he's already testing the waters again. A political action committee affiliated with him polled Democratic caucus voters in Iowa, and he visited New Hampshire in April. Former Housing and Urban Development Secretary Julian Castro, 42, was on Clinton's vice presidential shortlist. The former San Antonio mayor drew national attention for his 2012 Democratic National Convention speech. Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat, Virginia, Kaine, 59, grew his profile as Clinton's running mate. After the election, Kaine ruled out running for president or vice president in 2020. He's up for re-election in 2018. Senator Al Franken, Democrat, Minnesota, Franken, 65, emerged as a tough critic during the confirmation hearings for Trump's cabinet picks. In an interview, he said he's not running, noting that senators generally don't fare well running for president. Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat Ohio, Brown, 64, was on Clinton's running mate shortlist. He could face a tough re-election in 2018, though, after Trump won his state in 2016. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, 60, left office in 2015 and now works at Bain Capital. He's been previously floated as a presidential contender and is close with a former top Obama advisor, David Axelrod. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, 55, is running for re-election this year. His political prospects have been buoyed by the news that he won't face charges in a federal investigation into his 2013 campaign fundraising. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, the billionaire businessman and Shark Tank star, frequently clashed with Trump in 2016 and endorsed Clinton. Cuban, 58, has said we will see about whether he runs for president. Environmental activist Tom Steyer, the billionaire donor, 59, who runs a climate change advocacy group, is considered a possible candidate for California governor in 2018. Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez, the former Labor Secretary, 55, was elected head of the National Party this year and is looking to rebuild after the 2016 elections. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton, 70, was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer but plans to finish out his term, which ends in 2018. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, the term-limited governor, will be out of office in January 2018. McAuliffe, 60, is a well-connected ally of both Bill and Hillary Clinton and a former DNC chairman. California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, 49, launched an early 2018 bid for California governor. He's said being president seems like the most miserable job in the world. Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg, 47, drew praise for her book Lean In, which discusses women in the workforce, but she has said she won't run and will continue to say no. Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, 63, is stepping down from his role and will be executive chairman. He was urged by friend to run in 2016, but he endorsed Clinton. Former First Lady Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, proved a formidable campaigner for Clinton in 2016, but Obama, 53, and others close to her have said she won't run for elected office. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the wrestler and star of the Fast and the Furious film franchise, has flirted with running for office. A registered Republican, Johnson, 45, spoke at the party's convention in 2000, but documentary filmmaker Michael Moore has urged him to run. One potential political ally, Warren, who has described herself as a fan of Johnson's HBO show Ballers. Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat Hawaii, Gabbard, 36, hasn't been afraid to balk her party. She drew scrutiny for secretly meeting with Syrian President Bashar Assad and criticizing the U.S. strike on Syria following Assad's alleged use of chemical weapons on civilians. Representative Keith Ellison, Democrat Minnesota, 53, was a prominent Sanders supporter and was a leading contender for DNC chairman before losing to Perez. He now serves as the DNC's deputy chairman. Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, DNY, Maloney, 50, considered a bid to lead the House Democrats' campaign arm this cycle, but passed. He wrote Democrats' autopsy on the 2016 elections. California Governor Jerry Brown, whose term is up in 2018, doesn't think he'll run for office again, but wouldn't rule it out. Brown, 79, has run for president 3 times. Media mogul Oprah Winfrey, 63, who endorsed Clinton, is frequently floated for president but has said she will never run. Former Senator Russ Feingold, Democrat Wisconsin, Feingold, 64, served in the Senate from 1993 to 2011, but he lost a comeback bid in 2016. He considered a presidential run in 2008. Former Vermont Governor Howard Dean, 68, unsuccessfully ran for president in 2004. Dean, whose tenure as DNC chairman from 2005 to 2009 was marked by its successful 50-state strategy, briefly ran for DNC chair this year before dropping out. Former Vice President Al Gore, 69, who lost the 2000 presidential election after a Supreme Court decision, re-emerged in politics when stumping for Clinton last year. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat Virginia, Warner, 62, ruled out a 2020 run. "I think that window is probably shut." Former Senator Jim Webb, Democrat Virginia, Webb ran for the Democratic nomination in 2016 but dropped out after only polling in the single digits. He briefly weighed running as an independent. Since the 2016 race, Webb, 71, has pitched himself as a politician who can understand the white working-class voters who are flocking to Trump. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, 46, is considering a 2018 bid for California governor, but the New York Times reported that national donors have urged him to run for president. Representative Seth Moulton, Moulton, an Iraq War veteran, was also mentioned in the New York Times story and privately says he's not ruling out a bid. Moulton, 38, brushed aside the story but is fundraising off of it anyway. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu, 56, called the A New York Times story about him considering a run hysterical. He gained notoriety after defending the removal of Confederate memorials in New Orleans. Senator Tammy Duckworth, Duckworth, 49, recently made the switch from the House to the Senate. She's an Iraq War veteran and lost both of her legs while serving as an Army helicopter pilot during the war. Washington Governor Jay Inslee, the two-term governor, was a congressman for more than a decade. Inslee, 66, played a role in his state's lawsuit against Trump's travel ban.
That's the news. Join us here every day. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell. See you next time.
This is TBNN.